Hi everybody. So I'm recording this video because I saw some data come out this morning regarding first-time buyer mortgage and the amount that the first-time buyer pays as a mortgage, for a mortgage rather I should say, as a proportion of their take-home pay. Now that matters a lot because that is a good indication of what is happening in the market, because by and large the vast majority of people buying will be first-time buyers because they are coming into the market new. So it got me thinking, because there was a couple of peaks that you see, and you can see the chart in this video, but the big two peaks and troughs that happened in the 1990s and also again in 2008. Here at those two peaks, the lending proportion, or the percentage of a mortgage taking out amounting to the take-home pay of somebody, was almost 50%. So in 1990s and 2008, 50% of somebody's wage as a first-time buyer was going towards a mortgage. And those two peaks is when, after you hit that number, there was a property crash and the market kind of, the prices significantly dropped. We know with 2008, a lot of us were around already, that it was due to, obviously with the credit crunch as well, and the credit crisis that kind of tipped it over the edge. But the two metrics, or the two periods that brought it to mind for me, was actually, if 1990s and 2008 was kind of where the crashes happened, it kind of ties in with this 50% percentage of somebody's take-home pay, meaning the first-time buyers. So if we're thinking right now, what is the market doing, what's the likelihood of it having a crash, I would say the likelihood is quite well, based on those two historical points. I would say that's quite unrealistic now, because right now, if you look at the chart, the percentage of take-home pay for a first-time buyer, their mortgage payments is only 30%, and 30% of their take-home pay. I mean, I bought my first house when I was 25 years ago, and actually that was about right. That was about 30% of my take-home pay at that time. So if you look at the average run over 30 odd years, or even more so, you'll see that the average is 30% of somebody's pay goes towards a mortgage. When it goes up to 50%, then those are the two times that you actually had a crash. Well, why does that matter? Well, because when you look at the actual chart itself, you will see right now we are bang on the average of 30% of somebody's pay going towards a mortgage as a first-time buyer. So that then made me think, well, actually, there's always people thinking, oh, there might be a crash correction or whatever else, and looking at this data alone on it in isolation, I'd say that's completely unfounded, I would say. So what does it mean? I'd say I've got three kind of almost so what's around this. So one, I would say I would not be too hopeful. If you're waiting and sitting on cash and waiting for a market correction, I would say that it's going to be unlikely to happen for a long period of time, if at all, actually, because generally speaking, over the 100-year period, you see the house prices go, there's a dip, and then but ultimately it's an upward trajectory. Second, why do I think that? There will be more new listings. Already I'm hearing a lot of my estate agent colleagues and contacts telling me where more people are now wanting to list, wanting to move and sell their houses post-COVID pandemic. So more listings are happening, and that's causing the supply to also increase, which then puts a dampening cushion on the prices, because sellers are now realizing what they tried to get maybe a few months ago is not the price that they are finally being offered, because it was quite high, or they've pushed the price up way too much. Even the banks might have kind of said, no, that's not worth the value that it's actually being bought at, so they refuse the mortgages. So what's happening now is the prices are starting to kind of level out, because one, supply is going up, demand is starting to dampen, and the prices also started to dampen. So I would say that's my second so what. More listings will reduce, will increase the supply, and these other pressures that I talked about will drop the price kind of expectation of sellers, and that would then ultimately bring the market to some form of cooling effect. And the third one is demand. Demand may be reduced also at the same point where supply is increasing, due to the inflation rates. So right now, I mean, the government's talking, we're March 2022, on Bank of England website is quoted as 7.5%. Now, inflation, if you don't know how inflation works or measured, there's a basket of goods that, the Bank of England will measure the price of that basket over a period of time. And that basket right now is, they're quoting it to be 7.5% more than what it was this time last year. But the problem is it doesn't count for everything. So there's maybe a basket item of about 100 units of the most commonly bought stuff, but some discretionary items are not in there, and so you have to be quite aware that it doesn't encompass all of our lives and all of our purchases. But if you did do that, my guesstimation is not 7.5% inflation rate. It's more around 10%. All you have to do is to go to IKEA. You see things have doubled almost in prices. A lot of them are kind of the stuff that we used to use for HMO, kitting out the HMOs. Or at least 50% increase. You go to the petrol pumps, that's gone up significantly. We're looking at 180 a litre. Utility bills are due to double next month, and then again in October. Council tax, I just had my council tax bill, we're near almost £4,000, and that's a 10% increase from last year, just for the council tax. Then the other two things that are also confounding this kind of pressure on our ability to spend money are two other things, like goods and services. Goods and services have been rising significantly, and if you go to Wix or any kind of material shop, on average, even builders are now quoting labor costs rather than labor and material, because the material costs are so much more expensive, to the tune of around 25% to what it was last year. So if you're building a house, doing an extension, your bricks, your mortar, your plaster, all of these costs have significantly risen. And the last one is labor source. So, post-Brexit, you only have to ask businesses locally, and we're being told all the time we don't have workers, whether it's a builder, a plumber, somebody on the checkout, somebody in the office. I think we are facing a crisis of labor availability. That will then have an impact on the productivity of this country, because we won't have enough good quality, skilled labor to deliver the goods and services that we need to produce, to either for domestic consumption or to export. And that would also have a dampening effect on our ability to spend. So in effect, for the three things that are happening is, I wouldn't be hopeful about a correction in the market because of we talked about the first time buyer long-term average is still at 30% of somebody's earnings. Second, there are more listings coming, more supplies coming, so the price will start to dampen. Third, the dampening will almost be exacerbated, because I think the demand for housing will slowly but surely start to cool down because of all these costs. I've talked about utilities, petrol, council tax, material costs, labor costs. So all of these will have a combined effect of kind of correcting the market and smoothing out the market prices. But I don't think there's going to be any kind of massive price correction or market dip in either now or in the near future. Also because the interest rate are being kept. I know we've just had another little spike in 0.25% increase by the Bank of England in March. But again, this is more signaling that we will put the interest rate up if we have to, and it's kind of sending that kind of scary message. But I don't think the interest rate will go anywhere near what it would have been maybe say 5 years ago. So what should you do? I think there are three key things, people who are looking at investing right now or thinking about property investment will be to do a couple of things. Do not sit on cash. Cash is the worst thing you could do right now. Hold cash in bank, because your inflation is, let's say 10%. That means you come back after say 5 years, 100 grand will be worth something in the region of around £65,000. So you would have lost almost 35 grand in 5 years time on your £100,000. So do not hold cash. Look for instead below market value properties. Yes, it's easy to say, and I know it's hard. We spend hundreds of hours a week looking for them. They are out there. You just have to look and keep looking, because they will show up in your areas. So don't forget, most of us are only looking for 1 or 2 properties or projects at a time. So you spend that much time looking for that 1 or 2. Go direct to vendor. Go to off market projects or availability to buy them off market, auctions and everything else. So try everything you can to buy this below market value thing, because that's where you make the money. The price you pay on the entry is where you're going to make the most amount of money. If you overpay, you're only going to be going down the route of skimming your profit down over time. Second, I'd really assess your property strategy. If your property strategy has been or is buy to let, and you're making £400 gross rent a month, that's about £5 a year gross, but you've spent, you've invested, I don't know, £100,000 to buy this house as a project, and then you spend another 25 grand on top to do it up. So you're committed already at £125,000. So if you put 125,000, you're making £5 a year. You're looking at less than almost 3-4% return on your money. Is that, it's probably, clearly it's better than leaving in the bank, but is that what you need to be getting to make some money, your money grow, to combat this rate of inflation? The answer is probably not. So really look at your property strategy. Have a think about, can you start looking at HMOs? Can you start looking at title splitting, buying blocks of flats? Can you look at commercial to residential conversion? So things that are going to probably take a bit longer, but will make you the more money over the period of time to combat these structural issues that we're facing at the moment. And the last one, I'd say, also consider other investment types. So we at Quiddity Capital, we also work with sophisticated investors to provide an avenue, a channel for people to put, instead of sitting on cash, to put their money into Quiddity Capital, who then sources, buys, refurbs, refinances, and then rents and manage over the long term multiple properties, mainly concentrated on the multiple unit freehold blocks. By doing that, we then are able to have the rent come in. We buy already cash making properties that we can then increase the rent to the market rent after the refurbishment. We use that difference between rent and cost, and that difference here we pay our investors, and we keep some profit for investment. So that's another option that you can actually consider if that was something that you would be looking to do. You get the exposure to property investment, but you don't have the hassle factor of it. You get a fixed income guarantee from Quiddity Capital. And then we've got 2 products, fixed for 3 years or fixed for 5 years. You can then decide which one works best for you and your lifestyle. We've got investors that are investing with us right now, using the money that they get on a monthly basis to pay for school fees, to pay for holidays, to add an extra income to their monthly income generation as a household. So if you're interested, get in touch with us. Send me a direct mail or email azid@quidditygroup.co.uk, and I'll be sure to get you the guys to send you some information about the investment opportunity. But in summary, I would say property investment is still a very good place to put your money. In the UK, the average price is rising and has risen almost 10% in the last year. That's quite a lot in historical sense, but it just goes to show that when we can't find anywhere else to put money in, putting in bricks and mortar is always a good solution. You have the option of doing it yourself, or you have the option of working with us at Quiddity Capital to then co-invest with us. On that note, I will leave it there, and I look forward to some comment and feedback, and see how you guys are feeling about the market at the moment and what you think is going to happen over the short but also to the medium term in the UK. See you in the next video.